everyone. Can you believe it's not crazy hot here today? I might even go outside and take a walk later. But before that, we're gonna do Clues by Sam, and we have another hard one today as it is Sunday. And if you don't know what Clues by Sam is, it's a daily puzzle game where we have 20 people, each of them may be a criminal or an innocent, and you gotta figure that out using the clues that they themselves give you. We can almost peek at one clue today, and if you want to try the puzzle before watching, there is a link in the description to take you to it. If you get stuck and need any help, or maybe you want to do it along with me, then I'm going to start right now and try to explain my logic. Let's go. Well, the clue we have first is olives, and it says that exactly 2 of the 4 innocent neighboring Tom are in row 5. So Tom has 5 neighbors total, 4 of them are innocents, which means that one of them is a criminal, but none of the one criminal one isn't in row 5, so both Zaya and Zara are innocents. And we don't need olives clue. Oh, we do, because it tells us that there's only one criminal here, so let's leave that there. Zaya tells us now that Peter is one of 2 criminals above Wally, so we know that Peter is a criminal, and there's one other criminal in column B above Wally and 2 innocents. Now Zara tells us there's an odd number of innocents in column B. So since there's 2 innocents above Wally, the only person who could be the third one to make an odd number would be Wally. That makes him an innocent. And we don't need Zara's clue anymore. Now Peter tells us that Nancy has exactly 3 innocent neighbors. Where's Nancy? Nancy has 5 neighbors as well, and 3 of them are innocents, which means that 2 of them are criminal. One of them is Tom. Tom could be a criminal. Both Tom and Rose could be Nancy's 2 criminal neighbors, so I guess we can't act on that clue right now. Let's look at Wally's. Only one of the 5 innocents neighboring Rose is Jason's neighbor. So where's Rose? Rose is in the bunch with Nancy and Tom, so that complicates things. And only one of the 5 innocents neighboring her is Jason's neighbor, so Rose shares 2 neighbors with Jason, which means that either Maria or Nancy are an innocent and the other one's a criminal. We also know that Rose has 5 innocent neighbors from the total 8 that she has, and one of the criminal ones is Peter. What does that mean? Second one's gonna be here. That means that either Lisa or Tom are gonna be a criminal. And ooh, that is hard indeed. Let me think about this. Tom's single innocent criminal neighbor, right? Because Tom has only one criminal neighbor, so Tom's single criminal neighbor is gonna be either Maria or Nancy. That makes Rose an innocent. We still don't know about Nancy's criminal neighbor, so let's look at Rose's clue. Only one of the 2 innocents neighboring Gary is above Peter. Where's Peter? Oh, Peter is here. So what does that tell us? It tells us that either Lisa, because the people who neighbor Gary are Lisa and Betty, and they are above Peter, and only one of them is an innocent, right? But we know that above Peter there has to be 2 innocents, because there's 2 innocents above Wally, so Gary has to be the second innocent. And we don't need Rose's clue anymore. Now Gary tells us that Freya has exactly 3 criminal neighbors. Well, Freya is gonna have 1 criminal neighbor here shared with Gary, who's either gonna be Betty or Lisa. And the only way for her to have 3 criminal neighbors is with both Austin and Kyle being criminals. And we don't need Gary's clue anymore. Now Austin tells us that Freya and Jason have an equal number of innocent neighbors, and we know the total for Freya, that's 2 innocent neighbors. So that tells us that Jason has 2 innocent neighbors as well. Where's Jason? Here. 2 innocent neighbors total, and one of them is going to be down here, which means there's a second one here. But there's 3 people here, don't know about any of them, so we're going to leave that there. Kyle now tells us that Freya has more innocent neighbors than Irving. So the same people, kind of. Freya has 2 innocent neighbors, that means that Irving can only have 1. Right? And Irving has 3 people total. Only one of them is going to be an innocent. Or 0. But it couldn't be 0 because if none of these guys were innocents, let's say that. And Jason has to have 2 innocent neighbors. Well, it could be that Irving were an innocent. Now Jason has 2 innocent neighbors. Irving has less than Freya, so that works. What doesn't work? Could Irving have 1 innocent neighbor who is not Jason? He could if he himself were a criminal, because he would have to exchange with Jason, because Jason can only have 2 innocent neighbors. Irving couldn't have 2. Could Jason be an innocent ever? If Jason were an innocent, the other people who neighbor Irving would have to be criminals, because Irving couldn't have 2 innocent neighbors. And Jason still needs 1 innocent besides the one who's down here, so that would have to be Irving. But that also works, so it's not here that we have to look at. We have to look at Nancy. Because Nancy... How many innocent neighbors does Nancy have? 3. And since she could only have 1 here, because there's no way for both Hank and Jason to be innocents, that makes Maria and Tom one or the other. Hi, Vay from the future here, and I've come here to tell you that I realized as I was editing that it didn't make sense as to why Maria and Tom couldn't both be innocents. I didn't explain why that couldn't be the case, so I came back just so I could check it out because it didn't make sense to me, so I thought it of course wouldn't make sense to you guys. I'm gonna explain to you the logic now so that we can be sure as to why these 2 couldn't both be innocents. So we know that Freya and Jason have an equal number of innocent neighbors, and that Freya has more innocent neighbors than Irving. There's no reason why Donald couldn't be an innocent and these 2 guys be criminals, right? That would make Maria and Tom innocents. And Nancy would still have her 3 innocents, Irving would have less innocents than Freya, and Jason would have 2 innocent neighbors. So that works for all of these guys. But it breaks someone else. It breaks Gary. In the game, I have Rose's clue dismissed, and I completely forgot about Gary's total of innocence. So that will break. But I didn't remember that as I was playing, so I got 100% lucky in this scenario here. I could have gotten it wrong, but it worked out, so I'm happy with that. But as I was editing, I realized that it was just luck. Hope you guys understand, and let's get back to it. And there's no way for both Hank and Jason to be innocents because that will break Irving's total. And since here is 1 or the other plus Rose, that's 2, that means that Hank and Jason are 1 or the other as well. Oh, that's a lot of color usage. A lot of tags. That may be confusing, sorry about that, but I hope I'm making sense of it with my explanation. So since we know that these are 1 or the other, which means that for sure there's going to be 1 innocent here for Irving, and Irving couldn't have two. Donald has to be a criminal. Okay. Now Donald tells us that Irving and Wally have an equal number of criminal neighbors. And we know that Irving has two, which means that Wally has two as well, and that makes Uma his second criminal neighbor. We don't need Donald's clue anymore. Now Uma tells us there is only one innocent in between Freya and Jason. In between Freya and Jason, there is already one innocent, that's Gary, so that makes Hank a criminal and Jason an innocent. And because of that, and since Jason needs to have two innocent neighbors, he only has one down here who's either going to be Maria or Nancy. Irving has to be the second one. Don't need Uma's clue anymore. Now, Irving tells us that Nancy has more criminal neighbors than Austin. Nancy, we know, has two criminal neighbors, right? 3 innocent ones, 2 criminal ones. So 2 has to be more than what Austin has. And Austin could have 2 here because she has 1 innocent neighbor already. She, Austin, he, they. And could Betty and Freya be one or the other? I don't see why not. Could both of them be innocents? I don't see why not. I guess we don't need this clue anymore. Freya has more innocent neighbors than Irving, that's 2, so that's okay, we don't need it anymore. 2 of the 4 innocents neighboring Tom. Yeah, we still haven't figured that out. Nancy has exactly 3 innocent neighbors. We haven't figured that out. 5 innocents neighboring Rose. That's a whole carnival down here. Peter is one of 2 criminals above Wally. Don't need this clue anymore. Can I do something with this, guys? Like, let's maybe make Nancy a criminal. And if Nancy is a criminal, that makes Maria an innocent. And if Maria is an innocent, Tom is a criminal. Now, how many innocents does Rose have? 3, 4. And since she has to have 5, Lisa would have to be an innocent. That will make Betty a criminal. That's okay. I wish we have an undo so that I could go back to my tags without having to remember them, but I do remember them. So let's put them back and try to make Nancy an innocent now. If Nancy were to be an innocent, that will make Maria a criminal. And that will make Tom an innocent. And that would make Rose have her 5 innocent neighbors, which would make Lisa a criminal. And that will make Betty an innocent. So both ways work with Nancy. So that's weird. Peter is one of 2 criminals above Wally, yeah. Not number of incidents in column B, okay. Have I not seen something when I tagged? These guys are one or the other as well. Are they? I mean, both of them may be innocents. And if Betty is a criminal, there's no reason for Freya. Oh yeah, because the clue is talking about criminals. Nancy has more criminal neighbors than Austin. So that means that Austin couldn't have 2 criminal neighbors. But if Freya is a criminal, Betty could be an innocent. That would work. And if Freya is an innocent, there's no reason for Betty to be any or the other. So this is not a one or the other. So what am I not seeing? You can tell me. I'm waiting. Let me go through the clues again and see if I dismissed something that I shouldn't. Freya and Jason have an equal number of innocent neighbors. So Freya and Jason. Yeah, Jason's gonna have a second one here. Freya's gonna have a second one here. So no clue needed. Irving and Wally have an equal number of criminal neighbors. Irving has 2 criminal neighbors. Wally has 2 criminal neighbors. That's okay. Nancy has more criminal neighbors than Austin. And we know that Nancy has 2. So Austin can have 1 at most, which makes... No, it doesn't make them one or the other because Freya and Betty could both be innocent. Freya has exactly 3 criminal neighbors. Yeah, she's gonna have a third one here. Freya has more innocent neighbors than Irving. Freya has 2, Irving has 1. That's solved. Exactly 2 of the 4 innocent neighboring Tom are in row 5. Tom has 4 innocent neighbors. He's gonna have a 4th one here, so that clue's not needed anymore. Nancy has exactly 3 innocent neighbors. Yeah, she's gonna have a 3rd one here, so don't need that clue anymore. Only one of the 2 innocent neighboring Gary is above Peter, so there's 2 innocent neighboring Gary. Oh, so that's what we have to look at. Let's leave that clue there. That is a lot of tagging. Gary is gonna have 1 innocent here, but he's gonna have... There's not enough tags for Maria. She's involved in a lot of stuff, so we gotta look at Maria. Let's make her... Can we have tags? Can we have a 3rd tag here, Sam? Just one more. Let's make Maria an innocent then. That makes Freya a criminal. That makes Tom a criminal. That makes Nancy a criminal. And now Rose still needs 1 more innocent, so that will make Lisa an innocent and Betty a criminal. And now Austin has the same number of criminals as who? Who's the person that Austin shouldn't have same number of criminals as? Nancy. And Nancy has 2. Austin couldn't have 2, so that makes Maria Maria a criminal. And because of Maria, we know that Freya is an innocent. Is that it? And because of Freya, we know... Oh, because of Maria, we know that Tom is an innocent. And because of Maria, we know that Nancy is an innocent. And because of Tom, we know that Lisa is a criminal. And because of Lisa, we know that Betty is an innocent. That was a lot. Like a lot. And impressive. And I did an Augury in less than 17 minutes. I love that. I wish we had more tag. But I'm pretty happy, proud of myself that I did it with the tags that I had. And let me know how it went for you. If you found it hard. If you wish you could have more tags. And if you did finish it. If I helped you at all. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed this. I'll be back here again tomorrow with more Clues by Sam. And I think tomorrow we're gonna do an evil one from the pack plus the daily one. So stay tuned and have a nice start of your week. See you tomorrow.